Nobody has more respect for women than I do. Nobody.
Hillary Clinton wants to abolish it, believe me. She wants to abolish our Second Amendment.
I think they didn't deny it. I don't think anybody denied it.
Other presidents did not call. They'd write letters, and some presidents didn't do anything.
Many people have come out and said I'm right.
You really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop?
Hello and welcome to Fallacious Trump, the podcast where we use the insane ramblings of a cheeseburger-eating surrender monkey to explain logical fallacies. I'm your host, Jim.
And I'm your other host, Mark. A logical fallacy is an error in reasoning that results in bad or invalid arguments. And the logical fallacy we're taking another look at this week is conspiracy theory thinking.
Yeah.
Cheeseburger-eating surrender monkey. Nice.
Well,
good work.
I mean, we're not going to talk about it because we've been off for 3 weeks because I had a cold. You might be able to tell in my voice. I still have a bit of a cold. But
yeah, using your head voice.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
Rather than your baritone chest voice. Yes.
Yeah, so during that period, such a fuck of lots happened. We haven't got time to talk about
oh my
most of
God.
the stuff. But we'll get into things later. But this, like the surrender to Iran happened at basically the beginning of that period, of like soon after our previous episode. And he just completely capitulated to absolutely everything they could possibly have wanted and put the US in a much worse situation than they were before he started the war. And then signed the fucking Memorandum of Understanding at Versailles as if that you needed some kind of metaphorical underlining of how shit the deal was, and it was a complete surrender. So...
And then he threatened, in sort of impeachable, reigning genocidal nuclear war down on a country without nuclear weapons and threatening to wipe out the civilization all over again.
Yeah.
Immediately after the Memorandum of Understanding had been signed.
And I think Hunter Biden has nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize for ending the same war 38 times.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There you go. It's quantity, not quality.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, but that's a real sign of a peacemonger, isn't it?
No one's ever done that before.
No one's ever done that before. No one's ever. That's brilliant. Yeah. Fantastic.
So anyway, conspiracy theory thinking. We talked about this back in episode 11.
Wow. Yeah.
And there's been a lot of conspiracies since then, so there's more to talk about. But this is when people create an unfalsifiable claim.
Right.
So they set it up in such a way that there isn't really any evidence you could provide against it that they will see as evidence against what they're saying. They will take it often as proof that the thing they were saying was actually right all along. And that's just kind of the cover-up is part of the conspiracy and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. Sometimes it's done through moving the goalposts, so they'll just change the conspiracy to fit new rules, and sometimes it's just kind of denying reality and pretending and that this is always what we're saying.
Inventing something out of thin air.
But often it'll be the way that they set up the test, basically. They will put it together in such a way that there just isn't a way that it can be proven wrong. The main examples we used for Trump last time were talking about the rigged election, and he's doing it again, but this time about the California gubernatorial election.
Right.
It was a dirty election.
Mr.
And it's happening again right now in California.
You've never presented evidence.
It's happening
the
right now in California.
Rigged.
Right now, look at what's happening in California.
Where's the evidence to that?
It's
the
4 days.
Republicans are doing well in
California. No, they're not. They're dropping fast because it's a rigged election. Let me tell you, it's 4 days. And they aren't even close to coming up with it.
That's how they count.
You know why they're doing that? Because they're cheating on the election.
Do you have evidence to support
all
that?
I have to do is look.
So
all I've got to do is just say that it is.
So Kristen Welker is doing her best to push back there and ask for evidence.
Yeah.
And what was going on at this point? They were about 5 days after the voting finished in the California primary elections. In the gubernatorial election, Steve Hilton, who's actually a Brit, he used to work for David Cameron, I think. He's a Republican. He was up against Xavier Becerra, who's a Democrat, and Tom Steyer, who's a Democrat as well. And in California, the system is that it's an open primary, and whichever are the two top candidates, whatever party they're for, they will go through to the election later on in the year.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Initially, Steve Hilton was doing very well. And in California, one of the reasons that they take more than a few days to count the votes is that they will accept votes that are postmarked by election day, even if they arrive up to a week after the election.
Yeah.
And the Supreme Court has recently said, yeah, that's absolutely fine. That's the way it should be done.
Yeah.
Another thing that they do in California, which means it takes even longer, is that the signature verification that they do, if there are issues with the signature, the voters are given a chance to cure their ballot, to fix any errors, for up to 22 days after the date of the election.
Yeah.
Now, that will factor in quite a small number of voters. The signature verification thing isn't going to make a huge difference unless the votes are very, very close. But the fact that they accept ballots in, if they're postmarked by election day, up to a week after, means that really you don't know until usually at least a week after the election.
Yeah. Or till the deadline falls. Yes.
Yeah. Who is going to be likely even to be at the top. So Steve Hilton was doing okay. They started counting the mail-in ballots, which skew typically more blue. Xavier Becerra went up above him. Tom Steyer was kind of in the same ballpark of percentages. And Trump had to kind of change his tune once Tom Steyer conceded, because it was clear he wasn't going to get into the top two.
Yeah.
And so Trump made this claim instead.
He was up in front, just about leading, no problem. And all of a sudden, about 4 or 5 days after, this is after the election's over, they said, Steve Hilton is starting to lose votes. I said, here we go again. And I called up the U.S. Attorney in California. They said, we're going to have a number in the next week. Next week. I called up the very powerful, very good U.S. Attorney in California, and I said, do me a favor. Take a look. They're trying to steal that election, too. I guess they called up. They said, this is the U.S. Attorney call. We have your great U.S. Attorney here today, by the way, and your assistant U.S. Attorney. They're doing great. David, thank you. But so over the next week, he was definitely going to lose, but the U.S. Attorney called. We want to check your votes. About an hour after the call, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hilton has won. So had I not made that call, Steve Hilton would right now be watching the election from home. So I don't know, he would have a great chance, but the election's totally rigged. California's totally rigged. All mail-in ballots. It's a disgrace.
So his initial claim was California's rigged. They're going to keep the Republicans out of the running. They're not going to get in there.
Yeah.
His chosen candidate, came second. He didn't win. He came second in the number of votes. Yeah. And so he changes it to, it's rigged, and he wouldn't have got in there if I hadn't called up and made them had a look at it.
Yeah.
He starts off by saying, I called the US Attorney, and I guess the US Attorney called them. And then he play acts the call. Yeah. And then says, and within an hour of the call, they announced that Steve Hilton's won. He's just made up the call entirely.
Yeah.
There's no evidence at all that any of that happened.
No, of course. And they glazed claim to unperverting the course of justice.
Well, the thing is, you could watch, because of the openness and transparency of the elections, you could watch the vote count, and you could see that Steve Hilton, up to that point, was doing pretty well, and the votes they didn't change. Like, the number of votes didn't change at any point on the day when it became clear that he was going to be the second place candidate, and the media were able to say, okay, yeah, we're projecting that he's going to be the second place. And that's the point at which Tom Steyer conceded. So there wasn't a change that had happened when supposedly when the US Attorney called up and went, oh, we're going to keep an eye on this. We're not just going to let this one go.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so utterly transparent. And yet, other people think that he's right, or they twist themselves into all sorts of double helixes, helices, in order to justify the crazy position he's taking, rather than just say to him, "Shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
you're wrong. Stop it."
And the thing is, because the rest of the Republican Party are just up his arse.
Yeah.
People like Mike Johnson also join in with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm saying it stinks to high heaven, and everybody knows that. Let's remove the appearance of impropriety. Let's have what a concept. Let's have votes on an election the day of the election. That's what many states are able to do. I think California is playing around with this.
But what evidence is there to prove that there was rigged?
Look, some of these efforts are so diabolical and so far upstream it is impossible to prove. But I think everybody knows instinctively something is wrong here.
Yeah, where's your evidence? Well, it's so far off the charts that your evidence will never come to light. But everybody knows
Absolutely. This is fundamentally the conspiracy theory thinking, because he's claiming it is set up in such a way that you definitely won't be able to prove the thing he's claiming is true. Yeah. But instinctively, you know it's true. There's not, you definitely won't find evidence because they've done it so well. It's so far upstream and so diabolical. Yeah. And of course, there's not going to be any evidence.
No, you can make these outrageous claims. So equally, you can dismiss those outrageous claims. So the reporter saying, quite that's quite refreshingly to say, well, where's your evidence?
Yeah.
What evidence? And then him to go, evidence. Of course, they would hide all the evidence. Of course, they're that diabolical.
That just proves it.
That just proves it.
So our final example in this section, I kind of crowbarred this in a bit. This doesn't really belong here. This should be in the fallacy in the wild section. Right. But that's already pretty stacked this week. And this is a flat earther responding to the Artemis II mission. And the reason I've included it in here is, although I can't prove this specific flat earther who goes by Level Earth Observer is a MAGA type Trump supporter, a lot of them are. There's like a huge crossover between flat Earth and fundamentalist Christian and MAGA.
It's a very
so I'm
strange
considering this Trump
Venn
world.
diagram. Yeah, definitely.
So after the Artemis II mission, obviously lots of people who believe in science were looking at it and watching what was going on and saying how cool it was and enjoying the moon joy. And the flat earthers were looking at it and going, that's bullshit for various reasons we can't explain.
And for evidence which is being withheld from us.
Yeah, and some of the things that they had to explain away were all of the photos that came back from the mission, including one that this flat earther is responding to, which is the Earthrise photo.
Oh, yeah.
The moment they start producing images like this, is nonsense. They're presenting reality in a way that's not physically true. That is, they're showing the Earth to be a globe.
So his argument is, this isn't evidence that the Earth is a globe, because the fact they're showing the Earth as a globe when it isn't is evidence that they are trying to trick you. The fact that the photo shows the Earth is round, that's how you know it's nonsense. That's how you know they're lying to you.
Wow. Is that not the fate of all believers? If you're a ultimate believer, somebody comes along and says, but what if what are these things? The fact that you're showing me that is you're trying to tempt me away from my belief.
Yeah, there's just no evidence you can present to these people.
No.
That will allow them to change their mind because they're embedded in the belief system.
And I guess their argument is we're seeing this is being curated by somebody else. I'm not seeing it with my own eyes. I'm sure we've heard that argument before.
I mean, a lot of the people who reacted to the Artemis missions were
the same
before
people.
It happened. They were talking about we won't see any good images. We won't see any. They're telling you what you're going to see, and then that wasn't what you saw. But afterwards, they were saying, well, why? If this was real, why didn't we see full HD footage on multiple angles of the whole launch going up through the atmosphere and round the moon and stuff, and also GoPros on all of the astronauts and cameras on the inside of the module and all that kind of stuff. And the reason is because the people who are doing this mission aren't trying to prove flat earthers wrong.
Yeah.
They are doing a proof of concept for Artemis 3. Their focus isn't on providing the kind of evidence the flat earthers are asking for.
Yes.
Because they don't give a shit about the flat earthers.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff Bezos could do the world a service by taking all the flat earthers up into space.
Just leaving them there.
And just leaving them there, The B-arc from Hitchhiker's Guide. Yeah.
And now is the time, I think, for Mark's British politics corner.
I'm focusing rather on Farage and his constant conspiracy of the two-tier policing, with the two-tier state. And in fact, he's just written an article now on the Reform website. I haven't read it. I've just noticed that he has. And the other thing I think about conspiracy theories is that they are constructed to disguise what's really going on underneath.
What they don't want you to
What
know.
they don't want you to know. And part of this conspiracy that he has trotted out on several occasions, it's the conspiracy of white replacement. His whole notion is that white English people are getting at the raw end of the deal vis-a-vis the police and the judiciary system, and it's just a smokescreen for hiding racism. So the first clip is from 2024, which we visited before, I think at the time. So this was when Labour's early release scheme in September 2024 was going on, and what it also meant was that in Farage's eyes was there was a conspiracy afoot that they were going to release all these people so that you could shove rioters into jails, and that this was evidence of a two-tier policing system because people who were posting about the murder of remember the murder of the school kids that were at the dance class?
Yeah.
And he kind of fomented the whole sort of, actually, he was probably a good deal responsible for the riots that ensued, which led to people's arrests, because he was saying the police are withholding information. Or are they? I think these questions should be asked about the perpetrator's ethnicity. So here he is in the House of Commons talking about the two-tier policing.
Yesterday we witnessed some extraordinary celebratory scenes outside Britain's prisons where in some cases serious career criminals were released. And this to make way for, yes, rioters, but equally those who've said unpleasant things on Facebook and elsewhere on social media. Does the Prime Minister understand there is a growing feeling of anger in this country that we are living through two-tier policing and a two-tier justice system?
There's a growing feeling of anger in this country is the equivalent of, I just have to look.
Yeah.
Well, where's your evidence? Well, there's a growing feeling of that we're living under two-tier policing. And I think, as we said at the time, saying unpleasant things on Facebook, well, it was inciting the burning down of former hotels that were housing asylum seekers waiting to be processed. Hate crime, basically hate crime.
Absolutely, yeah, violence inciting hate crimes.
Yeah. And in some cases, serious career criminals were released. In one case, a serious career criminal was accidentally released, and he was rounded up 2 days later and put back in. So in the conspiracy theory, there's a bit of cherry picking going on as well. Because he's had to pick who got released, because of the 38,000 released, 34 were British nationals, 3,000 were foreign nationals, 10,000 were serving sentences of 6 months or less, and 5 between 6 and 12. So they weren't career criminals. Their sentences were too long, had been extended because they'd served a lot of the sentence waiting to go to trial, waiting to go to court, and so they should have just been let out afterwards, but they hadn't. And also, the one that was released and recaptured 48 hours later, he wasn't white, and Farage made a lot of that too. And the thing about conspiracy theories is you can apply them to anything that's going on. Remember the child sex abuse cases with the J report, and prior to that, the Casey report. Both reports were done under the Tory government, and the Tories didn't implement any of the recommendations.
Yeah, they were given like 20 or 30 kind of suggestions for what to do, and they didn't. And then they said, we just need to do more studies.
Yeah, well, I think part of the thing from my reading of Farage is, my conspiracy about Farage, is that the truths that they found were that the perpetrators of these child sex trafficking crimes, there was as many, if not more, white perpetrators.
It was overwhelmingly white, yeah.
Yeah. So he wants to keep, we're going to keep doing the thing until we find the truth
the result we want.
I want it to be about. So here he is again, and again he invokes this unsubstantiatable appeal to his constituents. There are people saying, and it's a fine line between these people are angry and I am making these people angry. And so here he is talking about that in June this year.
And I can certainly talk for many of my constituents in saying that there is a feeling that because of racial sensitivities, the authorities at all levels for a couple of decades now have not done the job of genuinely pursuing justice. Why don't we as members of Parliament forget party affiliation, recognise the upset and concern and fear of our constituents that we're increasingly living in a two-tier justice system in this country, and come together and force the government to have a powerful committee in this place, and let's call the heads of social services, let's call senior police officers, let's call councillors, former or serving, or even former or serving MPs, and get to the truth.
The irony is, he said, let's forget our party affiliation.
Yeah.
And his party affiliation is entirely based on it's the fault of the non-whites. And the two-tier policing is being applied here because of racial sensitivities, which is, straight out of Enoch Powell's playbook. And then also in June, following the death of Henry Novak, who, whilst being arrested, having been accused of racism by the very person that attacked and stabbed him, died in police custody. And despite the pleas of Henry's father, Farage uses this as part of his two-tier conspiracy in the face of Henry's father's plea. And here we first hear Starmer quoting that plea from his father.
Now, there clearly are lessons, Mr. Speaker, that need to be learnt, serious questions that need to be addressed, not least this question of how accusations of racism informed decision-making in such cases. Henry's father said this: "We do not want his death to be used to create further division, hatred, or tension."
It is now clear to growing millions in this country that we're living under two-tier policing. The instructions that are given to police officers from police bosses are clear and written down in ink. It says you must treat different ethnic groups in different ways. That, apart from the upset and the anger at the circumstances of his death, the anger that you saw spilling out in Southampton last night. Condemn it. If the public lose trust in being treated fairly by the police, can he take some action, end this divisive practice of two-tier policing, and make sure that all British citizens are treated the same?
The instructions that are given to police officers from police bosses, which are clear and written down in ink, aren't you must treat different ethnic groups in different ways.
No way.
No. No, they're not at all. Not even written down in ink. I hate his thing that said, yes, they're written down in ink.
Yeah, not in pencil.
Not in pencil or the computer. Yeah, it's like it's the real thing. It's not printed off, written down in ink. And it's him reading the stuff the way that he does on the basis that it's all a two-tier policing thing. And, needless to say, Henry was a white man. His attacker wasn't. Can you see a theme here from Nigel?
The thing is, if it was written down in ink that you must treat different ethnic groups in different ways, that in a way would explain a lot, because they fucking do treat different ethnic groups in different ways, and it isn't the way Nigel thinks it is. Yes, exactly. Yeah, quite. Yeah, and lots of reports say, yeah, you're right, there is a two-tier policing system, but it's not. Not the way. Here are the numbers. Yeah, the most people that get arrested, not white. The people that get stopped and searched, not white. Yeah, all the places
of that
with more and more aggressive policing tactics, not white areas.
Not white areas. Yes. Yeah. And yet his conspiracy is that there's a two-tier policing and that not white people are getting the better deal. So on a lighter note, let's revisit the queen of conspiracy, Liz Truss, who, not content with blaming everyone in the deep state for her $22 billion black hole fiscal event that led to her resignation after, remember, only 45 days as Prime Minister, she spoke at the GOP CPAC last February. She did echo some of Farage's shit, but amongst other things, also said these. I think she might be selling a book or something.
Like in most of Europe, our universities, our institutions, and our corporations have been taken over by anti-West ideology. Islamism, green extremism, anti-capitalism, wokery, transgenderism, you name it, they've adopted it. This is something that was imposed from above. In Britain, Tony Blair in particular trashed centuries of liberty, created an unaccountable Supreme Court, which had never been existed in Britain before. He created a much deeper and powerful state that is not held to account. He also handed vast powers over to an alphabet soup of international bodies, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, the ECHR, all of whom nobody could vote in and nobody could vote out. And amazingly, during all of this, many so-called conservatives went along with the ideology. They were busy hugging Greta Thunberg. They were putting up taxes. They were increasing immigration. They were pursuing transgender ideology. And it's no wonder that the Conservative Party had its worst defeat since 1834.
Okay, how old was Greta Thunberg when Tony Blair was in government?
I don't know that she was born.
I don't think the Venn diagram overlaps there.
No. Amazing. And also, handing power to the World Health Organization, the United Nations and the ECHR, all of whom nobody could vote in and nobody could vote out.
That was well before Tony Blair.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, they were increasing immigration. They were pursuing transgender ideology.
Which conservatives were doing that? Pursuing transgender ideology?
Yeah, not any of them.
No.
But it's all been taken over by wokery.
Tofu eating wokerati.
What's he building in there? What the hell is he building in there? He's framed fake covers from those magazines. He never answers when people ask why. He's hiding something from the rest of us. He's all to himself. I think I know why. He took down the East Wing from some sense of entitlement. He has no legacy of his own, you see. He has no dog, he has no friends, and his pool is going green. And what about all those messages he sends? What's he building in there with that plastic gold on the stairs? What's he building in there? I tell you one thing, he's not building a country for the voters. What's he building in there? I heard he had an ex-wife with her own line in jewelry. And he used to have a real estate business. Well, his father is. But what's he building in there? He has no friends, but he gets a lot of mail. I'll bet he's spent a lot of time in jail. I heard he was up on the roof last night, signaling wild fallacies. And whose Obuma he's always dissing. What's he building in there? What's he building in there? We have a right to know.
Tom Waits there with his rather disturbing "What's he building?"
I had no clue what was going on for any of that. So.
You must have heard of Tom Waits. Have you heard of
I'm
Tom
aware
Waits?
of Tom Waits' existence.
Aware of his work.
It's just I've not heard that particular piece.
It's kind of one of the most accessible of his.
Okay.
Apart from the soundtrack to Wilder Heart, which he did. My son put me onto that years ago.
Okay.
Anyway, you've got to listen to this, and it's like absolutely terrifying. But it's like a big conspiracy, what's going on in the top of there. It's, yes.
Well, in the Fallacy in the Wild, we like to talk about the Fallacy of the Week from a non-political perspective. Sometimes for the sting, for the Fallacy in the Wild, you like to pay tribute to one of your fallen heroes who might have died recently by murdering one of their songs for the sting.
Yeah.
And And in a similar way, last month, James Burrows died, the legendary sitcom director.
Yeah.
He directed the pilots of over 75 sitcoms that ended up getting made into shows. He co-created Cheers.
Yeah.
He started on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. He directed episodes of the Bob Newhart Show, almost all of Cheers, like 90% of Cheers episodes.
Wow.
He directed the pilot of Friends and about 3 dozen Friends episodes. Big Bang Theory, Will and Grace, Taxi.
Wow.
Just a ridiculously incredible career.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd like to pay tribute to him by including episodes that he directed in this section.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that very well because I did find one that had a good example of this, but I'm not prepared to use bad examples.
Yeah.
So while I found a few things that kind of went into the conspiracy area, they weren't particularly good examples in things. And I did end up just watching like the whole first series of Cheers and that kind of stuff, which is the least efficient method, just watching stuff and hoping it comes up.
Yeah.
But I did find this in the very first episode of Frasier, which he directed. And this is when we first meet Daphne Moon.
You were a policeman, weren't you?
Yeah, how'd you know?
I must confess, I'm a bit psychic. It's nothing big, just little things I sense about people. I mean, it's not like I can pick the lottery. If I could, I wouldn't be talking to the likes of you two now, would I?
Yes. Perhaps I should describe the duties around here. You would be responsible for...
Oh, wait a minute. I'm getting something on you. You're a florist.
No, I'm a psychiatrist.
Well, it comes and goes.
So Daphne's idea of her own psychic ability is obviously bolstered, but any time she guesses correctly about something, and any time that she's wrong, it doesn't shake her belief that she's psychic, because it's like, well, it doesn't work every time.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's not evidence that she's not psychic. It's just
there's literally no way to disprove her psychic ability.
Yeah.
Because every time it doesn't work. And this is true, like, of people who genuinely claim psychic ability, like Uri Geller, when he went on Johnny Carson show. They had James Randi come up with ways that it would be more difficult for him to do his usual tricks.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's just, I'm not feeling it today. It's like there's a lot of bad energy in the room and I can't quite do that. Yeah, it's unfalsifiable. Because anytime it doesn't work, you've got an excuse for it. You've got a reason why it doesn't. It doesn't prove that you don't actually have that ability.
Yeah, and because if you're dealing with somebody who's basically a magician, who's kind of manipulating the environment to his own ends, so he can get away with advanced spoon bending in the University of Uri Geller, when that environment is not under his control, he regains the power to own the mystique. So he owns the environment within which he can convincingly bend a spoon. If you take away that environment from him, he will then own it doesn't work all the time. Yeah. So he still owns the proof. You can't disprove that.
Absolutely, yeah. Because of the way he's got it set up.
Yeah. So so it doesn't work all the time. I can prove that it doesn't work all the time quite readily. Yeah. Quite happy to do that. Yes.
So our second example, and the rest of these are not from James Burrows' shows, unfortunately, but
despite all of your watching.
Yeah. I really tried.
Yeah. Did you have to watch the entirety of Friends all over again?
I didn't watch all. I watched multiple episodes of Taxi and Mary Tyler Moore and Bob Newhart and.
Wow.
Anyway, so our second example is from Avatar, not the suboptimal James Cameron film, but the animated show,
Airbender,
which I don't watch or really understand.
No.
But from what I understand, I think people who do watch it would probably disapprove of my attempt to contextualise this without sufficient
Let us know
knowledge.
in the comments, people. Yeah.
So I will simply say that the main characters are trying to prove to the Earth King that people who work for him have nefarious purposes, and so they take him to a lake where previously they have found an underwater place.
Right.
And one of them uses whatever bullshit powers they have to lift
all the water out of the way
from underneath the lake.
Right.
And it turns out what they were expecting to find is no longer there.
It's gone.
Oh, don't tell me. That's okay. Still got my positive attitude.
The Dai Li must have known we were coming and destroyed the evidence.
That seems awfully convenient.
Hey, if anything, this proves the conspiracy exists even more.
Yeah. So the argument is, because there isn't any evidence there, that shows that it's been destroyed by the nefarious people.
That's
and therefore you
evidence
should
in
believe
itself,
us.
yes.
Yeah.
If anything, it proves it more, yeah. Hate that.
So, our next example is from Superstore.
Hey! Yeah.
And in this episode, the tech company that is like the parent company for the Superstore, Zephyr, there's like rumours going around the staff that they are somehow controlling people's minds through their tech, through their tablets and stuff, because they seem to know what people are going to buy and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so Glenn and Dina get into a conversation about whether this is really happening, because Glenn is convinced that it's definitely happening.
What if Zephyr is already controlling your mind and you don't even know it?
Glenn, I promise you Zephyr is not controlling my mind.
Yeah, but they might be making you say that.
Okay, would they make me say this? Zephyr is an inferior company. Their tablets barely hold a charge.
Yes, because they want you to convince me that they're not making you say things.
The fact that you think they're controlling your mind is proof that they're not controlling your mind, because they wouldn't want you to be aware that... What am I doing?
Yes, because that's the thing, in my somewhat, which I'm done for some time, how do you counter the conspiracy theory fallacy? It's very difficult.
Well, in this case,
yeah,
because it's the whole nature of this fallacy is that you can't disprove the theory.
Yeah.
Because of the way it's set up. And in this case, Dina is saying, if I say something really negative about Zephyr, that must be proof, surely, that they aren't controlling my mind, because they wouldn't want me to say negative things about the company. And Glenn is like, oh, that's how they're going to get you to convince me.
Yeah, that's exactly what they would get you to say. Yeah. Yeah.
So there isn't a thing you could say that is proof that
and
your mind isn't being
like
controlled.
that she kind of gets into the little loop and goes, but if I... And then just goes, oh, God, yeah, what's the use? Yeah.
I mean, I think her argument at the end there, which is that the fact that he thinks they might be controlling his mind is proof that they aren't controlling his mind, because why would they allow, if they are controlling his mind, why would they allow him to think that?
Yes.
He is? Because I think that's actually kind of a reasonable argument.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the one that we've, when we were encountering the QAnon and the chemtrails and all that kind of stuff, about if there's this shadowy elite that, the sinister mandarins, the powers that be, that are keeping this stuff from everyone, how come you know about it?
Yeah.
Are you a sinister mandarin? and then you could play them at their own game. They say, "No, I'm not." Well, of course that's.
Well, you
of
would
course
say that.
You would say that, wouldn't you? Yeah. Yes, exactly that.
Our final example in this section is from the film Conspiracy Theory with Julia Roberts and Mel Gibson, where she's a journalist, he's a conspiracy theorist who, because it's a film, turns out to be right about the shadowy cabal that is controlling everything.
Right.
In this, he's showing her his kind of conspiracy theory newsletter that he writes.
The Oliver Stone, George Bush connection, Oliver Stone?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, he's their spokesman. Yeah. I mean, you think if anyone had the information that he's got and had a national podium to shout it from, that they'd actually let him do it? No, it's quite clear that he's a disinformation junkie for him. The fact that he's still alive says it all. I mean, he probably should be dead, but he's not.
Can you prove any of this?
No, absolutely not. A good conspiracy is an unprovable one. If you can prove it, I mean, they must have screwed up somewhere along the line, and if that's the case, well... They.
Yeah. So his whole worldview is basically that if any of these had an actual evidence, that's evidence that they've done a bad job of the conspiracy, so that, they wouldn't do that because they're really good. They're good at what they do. So the fact that you can't find any real evidence is proof of it. And with the Oliver Stone thing, the idea that because he's saying controversial things on a national stage, like making JFK and that kind of stuff, and the fact that he's allowed to say those things means he's doing it deliberately as a misinformation engine for the government. He's working for them, because otherwise they would kill him.
Right, yeah.
If the things he was saying were true and he wasn't supposed to be saying them, he'd be dead by now.
Yeah.
So obviously what's happening is he's spreading misinformation on their behalf.
It must therefore be, yes, yeah. Hi, yeah, because that's it. Either
Those are the
that,
only two options.
yeah, either that, or there's no shadowy cabal at all, and it's
That doesn't factor in, yeah.
no, and the government is just run by a series of incompetent idiots that are really bad at covering stuff up.
So we're gonna play fake news, folks. I love the game. It's a great game. I understand the game as well as anybody.
Yes, it's time for Fake News, the game where I read out 3 Trump quotes, 2 of which are real and 1 I made up, and Mark has to figure out which one is fake news.
You see, I'd like to point out that this game has just been a travesty of fairness. It's a litany of cheating and a blatant display of bias since its inception. I only have to look at what's been going on to know for certain everyone and everything is against me.
That's what we didn't want you to know.
Quite, and the fact that I figured that out just proves that it was proof enough
that we messed up somewhere.
Yeah, and it's been it made it even more obvious.
Well, these examples are not from the same speech. These are from disparate and separated by, in some cases, years.
Oh my God! Wow,
things that he said
rather than just minutes.
The thing that links them together is basically him kind of glitching in a way.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it'll become clear as we go through, I think. So, statement number 1: we have a. They call it. We call it. I call it. It's called. They call it. You call it a room. It's a room. One of the great rooms. The king was here. Did you see that? He came and we were in that room, and it's a good room. But you can only get like maybe 102, 103, 105 people in there. So it's really not big enough for everything you might need it for. But it was big enough for that, and the king was happy.
All of that stuff, and all he could come up with was room. Okay. Yeah.
Statement number 2.
Mm-hmm.
This disgusting illegal alien who was let into the United States by Kamala and her lax law. She, they, every one of my killer, we had the great, he would have never been able to get in. She stopped every single one of them. She was the border czar. Now she doesn't admit that. Whether you call her a czar or not, she was no czar because she really wasn't a czar.
Wow. Right.
Statement number 3.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel the same as I felt 50 years ago. I don't know. There'll be a period of time when I don't tell you that. But because I'm honest, I'll say it's not looking good. I have to be careful. If I said, as an example, I'm not feeling well, okay, they put on Donald Trump is not feeling well, because they won't know that I'm using that as just a reference point, and they'll say, listen to this.
What the... What? Okay. Wow. Wowee. These are the kind of things that he's just saying everything out loud, isn't he?
Yeah, there's no filter at all.
There's sort of internal monologue stuff that normal people, it would just happen and you wouldn't be conscious, and he feels that everybody's interested in what he's got to say. Unbeknownst to him, we're not. Okay, so... all right, so well, I'm drawn to number 3 as real, and the room one. They call it, we call it, I call it, it's called, they call it, you call it. Feels real, and so I think that either 2 is a riff on 1 or 1 is a riff on 2. But she really wasn't a czar. Okay, right. Okay, so on the basis of I don't know what, I don't know. They're all true. Can't. So are you going to because the third one feels less crazy. I'm going to go for number 1 is the one you made up.
Okay, so the other 2.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're more convinced by 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And number 3.
Yeah.
Is real.
I feel the same as I felt 50 years ago. I don't know. There'll be a period of time when I don't tell you that. There'll be, because I'm honest, I'll say, it's not looking good. I have to be careful. If I said, as an example, I'm not feeling well, they put on, Donald Trump is not feeling well, because they won't know that I'm using that as just a reference point, and they'll say, listen to this.
I haven't a clue what the fuck he's talking about.
What does that mean? What does that even mean? Just using it as a reference point. What are you talking about, man?
What? Yeah, I've got no idea. Because
wow, there'll be a period of time when I don't tell you that, like when you're not feeling well. Yeah, during that period of time, you couldn't genuinely say I feel the same. No, because you're just saying I feel the same as I felt 50 years ago. Nothing to do with whether you're feeling good or not.
Yeah.
But,
maybe he felt like shit 50 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly you looked it. Well, it's that kind of thing where normal people would just say, oh, yeah, in some senses, I feel just the same as I did when I was 15. You know, and then I get surprised when I look in the mirror. That kind of thing. And you go, oh, yeah, no, I know what you mean. But he said, well, I can't tell you that because somebody will pick up on it and they will make it say
somebody
this.
will report the thing I said.
But yes, but all I'm saying, I'm just using it as a reference point. What? Where are you doing that? Okay.
So
yeah.
You also think that number 2 is real?
Yes, having my doubts now because
and number 2,
too many czars. Yeah,
is real.
This disgusting illegal alien who was led into the United States by Kamala and her lax law. Every one of my killer. We had the great. He would have never been able to get in. She stopped every single one of them. She was the border czar. Now she doesn't admit that. Whether you call her a czar or not, she was no czar because she really wasn't a czar.
What the fuck is that? They, every one of my killer. What the hell is that?
Absolutely no fucking clue. But then he says she stopped every single one of them. Who?
Yeah,
like Kamala stopped every single one of them.
Yeah,
well, that's
she
good,
was.
isn't it?
She was the. If she was the border czar, she was this.
Wasn't.
And then he said, well, no, but she wasn't because she couldn't have been because she might have been, but she wasn't because she wasn't.
Whether you call her that or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, so there are 5 people going on in his head at any one time, aren't there? You're having a discussion of, oh, you can't say that. Can't I? Yeah. And he's just the conduit through which we're hearing, my name is Legion, for we are many. Wow.
Which means, of course, that you're correct. That number 1 is,
it was a close run thing. It was either the they would have, she would, zar, but nicely done. They call it, we call it, I call it, it's called, they call it. Perfectly feasible. Absolutely.
Sure.
That's the, yeah. Wow.
It did remind me, have you seen that kind of viral video of the kid saying, have you ever had a dream where you could, and then you would, and you wanted them to do you so much you could do anything?
Yeah.
And he's really proud that you managed to do it in the end, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I've seen it set to music. Yeah. Wow. Nice.
So, of course, we do have some social contestants.
Right.
On Patreon.
Yeah.
One-Eyed Nick said, what just happened? Is someone macro-dosing in with acid? Either Jim or Jaffa the Hutt. I feel like my brain just vomited from reading this. I think 2 is real. 1 has too many changes for Jim. It'd be too obvious for him to make it up, which makes me think Pol Pot Luck actually said it. So I'm going with 3 being fake news.
Nice. There you go.
Renee Z says, all 3 are very plausible Dementia Don statements. Number 3 sounds like when he's focused on his mortality. Not enough, apparently, because July 4th didn't do him in. And sounds a bit morose. Number 2 sounds like he remembered that Harris was given the border job. Why did you do that, Joe? And she wasn't able to overcome the Republicans' love and fear of Trump. So the immigration legislation didn't pass. I would love to hear him stumble through one. I'm channeling Mark on this one. But it just seems too over the top. And he would have stopped and pivoted earlier in his meandering. Therefore, number 1 is fake news.
Wow, that's a very, blimey, that's very prescriptive. He would have stopped in his meandering. Well, I guess, but he would have stopped himself and just announced that his meandering was the weave. Yeah, rather than, yeah. Perhaps it was it's called too far. Yes,
maybe.
Yeah.
Kaz Tui says, well, looky here, what the fuck do I do with this, people? I've lost IQ points just reading this. Up front, nice work, Jim, I have no idea. Everyone, my killer, has to be true. Trump's always putting others first. Because I'm honest, again, Trump truth speak, obviously. Trying to remember the word for room has to be fake. Trump's mind is a steel mousetrap. So, number 1 is fake.
Yeah, I mean, it is a gym-sized joke. So,
Scott says, we have the best rooms, amazing rooms. This has to be real. 2 is real as well. Tsar Kamala gets him every time. I think 3 is the one you made up.
Wow.
finally, on Facebook, Andrew says, very cunning to post these in the 30 minutes before England play Mexico. I need one to be real. Of the other two, I'll plump for number 3 to be fake news. By the way, if Mexico win, can that be classified as fake news?
Nice.
There you go, well done.
So despite the fact that everybody's against me...
The only possible reason for that is that the conspiracy occasionally lets you win to make you feel like
yes.
all against you.
Well, yes, but that's the kind of thing that they would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's time for the part of the show that this week at least is called The Great American State Fair is Not a Logical Fallacy, because happy 250th birthday, America.
Everybody.
It'd be nice if Trump hadn't completely stolen the birthday from you and turned it into a typically Trump shit show.
Yeah. I saw a brilliant cartoon, can't remember who it was by, and it was like a big birthday cake with America written on it, and the slice that had me had taken out and Trump was dancing around on top of that. I thought, that's very cleverly done.
The thing is, there was, as you might expect, a good plan for America's 250th birthday.
Probably been...
there was a whole big celebration
50 years in the making.
For the bicentennial.
Yeah.
And so the semi-quincentennial, they'd been thinking about it for a little while.
Yeah.
And in fact, there was a group put together, a bipartisan group, put together by Congress called America 250.
Right, yes.
Which Congress funded to the tune of around $120 million.
Wow.
I don't know if all of that came from Congress or if some of that was private donations as well.
Yeah.
The Smithsonian, also in DC, was raising money for a 250th celebration that involved lots of different groups from around the country who would be putting on, like people who ran like Burning Man and stuff like that would have been involved in creating parts of this festival.
Yeah.
Whereas what ended up happening is it looks like it was done by the people who did the Fire Festival.
Yeah.
Because
with less free food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Trump stole the money from America 250, created an LLC called Freedom 250 and redirected the funds. And there's been an allegation in a report this week from the Natural Resources Committee. The document they've produced is called From Vanity to Insanity, How the White House Cheated the American People Out of Their 250th Birthday.
Yeah.
And there are allegations in there that they literally solicited donations for America 250, but gave the financial details of Freedom 250. So if people wanted to donate to the real bipartisan one, it went into the LLC that's controlled by Trump and his cronies, which is absolutely wire fraud.
Yeah.
And the thing is, America 250, which still I think was involved in some funding of kind of more local state fairs and local celebrations that have still gone on around the country, they ended up with something like 15 million out of the 120 million that was originally allocated to them, and the rest of it went to Freedom 250, the fake profit earning one. And the reason I say profit rather than putting it into this state fair is because there's no fucking way this cost $120
million. Yes.
Because,
God damn.
I mean, it's nothing. Like, if you have ever put on anything on a village green, it had more stuff than this thing.
Yes,
like
exactly.
In Cambridge, in the UK, every summer they have a Ferris wheel on Parker's Piece, on a big piece of green space.
Yeah.
And like food trucks and stalls and things like that. So they have a big thing. Just because it's summer, like every year they do it. Yeah. And like you pay to go on the Ferris wheel, but that's basically it. And like if you want to get a burger from a food truck, it's probably a little bit more expensive than you get from a restaurant or a fast food place at least. But this is just. The only thing is a Ferris wheel. That's the only thing you can do, and that you can't do because the power's out most of the time. There are structures. There are buildings that have areas that are allocated to each state.
Right.
That have like the flags of each state out.
Okay.
There's about 6 or 7 states that didn't get involved in
so
it.
ostensibly, it looks like the Venice Biennale. Insofar as all the kind of big expos that you get every 5 or 10 years, where you have representatives.
So they're like stands,
countries.
and it's supposed to show you stuff about the state.
Yeah,
and in some cases the states got involved in these, and in some cases they didn't. They were just like, no, we're not having anything to do with it, because that wasn't paid for by Freedom 250, the states had to pay for filling those stands, those places that you can go into.
Yeah, so they saw through that and just said, no, fuck that, we're not doing that.
So some of them are literally just like a banner that says Maine and a couple of chairs that you can sit in, and that's it. And other ones have like a video playing of Nevada or whatever and a Confederate flag, and it's just bullshit. There's nothing going on. There's nothing fun to do. There are activities like you can get baptized,
right?
And which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
They had a rodeo,
right,
a few times. They have security, so whereas the mall in DC, the National Mall, would normally on a kind of pretty much an average weekday, but certainly on a weekends, would be pretty busy with tourists.
Right. Yeah.
They've blocked off the entrances to the mall, and it is fucking empty.
Yeah.
Like, Fox have been broadcasting from a place near the mall where you can see it in the background of their broadcast pretty much all week. And no matter what time of day you tune in, it is fucking completely empty. It's like a football field before they are actually doing any sport on it.
Yeah, right.
All the time.
Yeah.
At one point, like 4 days in, I think an administration official said that they'd had 150,000 people, and they thought that was pretty cool. And this is America's 250th birthday. It's DC is the capital, and that would be shit if it was true. And I don't think there's any way they've actually had 150,000. But even then, this is an enormous area. And the thing is, the weather hasn't helped them, because it has been, by turn, incredibly hot and also very rainy. But to some extent, that's DC in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of knew that was what was going to happen.
So you'd have aircon and lots of covered spaces.
You would have...
with
you'd have places. You'd have shade. You'd have places for people to fucking sit down.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's no tables to eat at. There's nothing. And you can't bring in like picnic blankets and sun cream and big bottles of water and stuff like that, because you're not allowed bags. Like the security checkpoints and stuff. Yeah, you can't really bring anything in to the area.
What?
So there's just people going into this shade-free hot box where there's nothing to do, wandering around the grassy area and absolutely burning. And if they want any food, the food is like twice the price of Disney prices. Like,
wow.
Like, you can get a turkey leg for $23. You can get a stuffed pretzel for $25. A lemonade is $9.
Wow.
It's fucking insane. You can't get ice cream. You should be able to get ice cream. They will try and charge you for ice cream, but because the power keeps going out, the ice cream melted on day 2.
Fantastic. It's just oh man, it's like those kind of every winter we have these things that pop up in England in public spaces like Winter Wonderland or Santa's Spectacular.
You may have seen the Scottish Willy Wonka's experience
right,
thing a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It has been likened to that, in that people are kind of going along expecting something amazing. And it has just been thrown together shit.
Just so shit. I mean, it's kind of it's worse than a kind of show and tell, end of year science fair.
Oh God, it's much worse. Every local high school could put on something much better than this, and does most years.
Yeah.
Have you seen the arch?
Oh God! There was a moment where the expanding foam that they've used to hold things together started melting. And
the thing is, that expanding foam is a recent addition, because when the fair started, the arch, which is supposed to be a recreation of the Trump, the Arc de Trump that he wants to build, but it's like a kind of a Spinal Tap Stonehenge version.
3 feet high.
It's a shitty cardboard thing with like vinyl stapled to it. But it wasn't even complete.
Wow.
When, like, for the first 4 or 5 days, it was, I mean, it still looks like shit, but it just was an arch shape with bits of vinyl stapled to it, and there were like floating blocks at the top of it that didn't look structural in any way, and it didn't have any kind of columns or portico or anything at all. It had just a golden eagle on the top and things like that. But it was just a big bit of cardboard, basically. and it looked absolute shit. It buckled in the heat, and and eventually, after several days, the decorations got delivered, which were kind of fake columns that then they put under the floating boxes to make it look like. And they attached that with expanding foam.
Wow.
Not any kind of glue or nails or screws or anything that a normal person would attach things together with. And so that was leaking out of all of the places that they'd put it into because of the heat.
Brilliant.
And bits of it were falling off. And it's just, oh God, it is the perfect metaphor for the Trump administration.
Yes. Yes, exactly like that. It's kind of, it's not even pretending. If it was a theatre experience, you would do things that are not real columns. It's all fakery, but it looks right and it will withstand scrutiny for 3 acts, of an evening performance, and you willingly buy into the subterfuge if you're convinced sufficiently by the set, and the curtains open and you go, wow, oh, that's really good, and then you're in and you're comfortable. There's that sense that it's all play acting and pretend, and we know that that's true about Trump's administration, but they can't even be asked to fake it properly.
It's the producers in fair form. They've raised over $100 million. Well, they've stolen over $100 million, and then they have done it for like $12.50.
Yeah,
and are charging ridiculous amounts. But in terms of like performances that are going on, because there are things happening. It's not just, there's the radio and there's other stuff. But listen to this group of musicians, genuinely brilliant people. There's Stevie Wonder, John Legend, Jennifer Hudson, Bruce Springsteen, Christina Aguilera, Common, U2, Eddie Vedder. All these people, they're not there. They were at Obama's presidential library opening in Chicago on the 18th of June.
Right.
Whereas at the Fire Festival on the National Mall, well, Vanilla Ice was due to be there, but
it was too hardly melted.
That was called because of the weather. Alexis Wilkins. You aware of Alexis Wilkins?
I'm not aware of their work, no.
She's a country singer.
Right.
Possibly best known as Kash Patel's girlfriend.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
So do you
think that
she was invited?
A bit of a nepo artist, right?
She claims not.
Right.
She says that she was invited to sing at the Freedom 250 event on the National Mall of her own accord.
Oh, okay.
And that anything suggesting that it was to do with Kash is a sham accusation.
Right.
It's
it
not
was
true at all. It's
filling in for a lack of Vanilla Ice.
Because she's famous. That's why.
Right. Yeah. Was she any good? Is there footage?
I can't imagine she would have been.
No. It's not even got a very country name.
No. Even if Fox hadn't been live streaming this disaster.
Right.
There are like live webcams that you can go and look at. There's webcams on the top of the Washington Monument that you can see stuff. It's so fucking empty. The thing is, as you might expect, after the first few days and leading towards July 4th, which was yesterday as we record, it did start getting busier.
Right.
Partly because there was supposed to be this big speech from Trump. There's a weekend, yes, of course.
Yeah.
So Saturday was a little bit busier, but they closed it early on Saturday because it was hot. Because it was a hot day.
Right.
And they hadn't made any plans for it being hot in DC in July.
In July, yeah.
That's completely unprecedented.
Yeah.
And so July 4th, Trump was going to give a speech. He had decided that he was going to give a speech despite the fact that they were saying it was going to be 107 degrees.
Wow.
He said he was going to speak for an hour or more because he could, to show he could. To which everyone was going, yeah, go on, you can do it. You can do 2 hours. And then they were going to have these amazing fireworks. But the fireworks were pushed back into the night so that he could speak for longer. So he was due to come on, I think, at like 9:30, something like that.
Yeah.
So there was a storm rolling in, a thunderstorm.
Right.
And so the people who had assembled on the mall were evacuated. They were got rid of by the Secret Service.
Wow.
Because it was not safe for them to be there.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to be having the talk anyway from Trump at that point. And so they all got shoved out off the mall. Many of the MAGA Republicans ended up sheltering in the African American Museum of the Smithsonian.
Excellent. Yeah. and learning stuff.
And I think they were there for a couple of hours, so some of them might have even looked at the exhibits. I don't know.
Going, oh, well, I'm going to have to rethink my entire outlook. Yes.
Yeah, but he announced he was definitely going to still talk, even if it ended up only being one person he was talking to, because he was going to do it as, 250th. So he did talk. He talked for 40 minutes.
Right.
Obviously, it was all bullshit.
Oh, yeah, didn't he talk about America being overrun by communism because people were bringing in...
He talked about communism in his speech on Friday at Mount Rushmore as well.
Right,
He brought up communism then as well. But he did talk about communism. He talked about all his usual kind of, the rigged election, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He misquoted the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
Yeah, he did a few bits. He claimed that prior to the thunderstorm coming in and the evacuation, there were 375,000 people there.
Whoa.
And that after, when everyone came back to hear him speak, there were still 150,000 people who came back.
Wow.
Videos that have been posted on the Midas Touch show that of the 4,000 chairs that were put out for people to sit and listen to him speak, about 3/5 of them are full.
Whoa.
So unless everyone decided they were going to stand quite a long way away...
to get a good view.
The
sound was better back there.
It's possible there was less than 150,000 people there. I don't think there have been official reports of the numbers yet, only the things that Trump has claimed. So, but he said stuff about how this is like the beginning of the golden age of America. And and then they had fireworks.
Maybe in
fireworks
2 years' time.
Apparently good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And people cheered, and I think it was reported, I can't remember where it was reported, it might have been The Independent, so something like the small group of onlookers then moved on after the fireworks after they cheered.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so part of it is the weather. They did have to evacuate, because it's been historically hot. Like, it's been hotter than it would normally be.
Yeah.
But they absolutely should have had contingency plans for rain, because it fucking rains in DC when it gets hot. And it gets hot in July.
Yeah.
So they should have just had an idea that was going to happen.
Just to have the whole of the, could have covered the entire, the mall.
I mean, any plan.
And
yeah.
We could have done it better. Yeah.
But the actual kind of stuff that's laid on in terms of festivities and things to do and food and all of that kind of stuff is just unbelievably shit.
Yeah.
And it like shows that they are not obviously making any effort whatsoever. It's basically the squeaky tank from his birthday parade from last year of festivals, of state fairs.
Yeah.
The thing that I think showed really what you need to know about it happened, I think, on day 2 of the fair.
Right.
Which was that a MAGA personality, a right-wing live streamer called Gian Ractelli, who goes by Manny online, was arrested. He was charged with lewd, indecent or obscene acts. He was dressed as Uncle Sam.
Right.
And he was spotted masturbating in front of an acrobatic display.
Yeah.
And he was taken away. And that is, I think, like, what more do you need to know about America on its 250th birthday?
Uncle Sam wanking over a sexy aerialist. Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah. I think it says it all. Reporters from HuffPost did interview several witnesses to this.
Yeah.
I love the reporting. It says one detail-oriented observer told police officers they saw Ractelli recording female circus performers before he stuck his right hand down his pants and moved back and forth approximately 6 times in what appeared to be self-pleasure or masturbation.
Fantastic. I thought there was going to be a kind of a frequency of oscillation there, 6 times a second or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Another reported that a performer from the circus troupe approached them to point out that an older white male was making lewd gestures in his pants during their act. And a third witness said they saw the accused, quote, with his hand in his pants, likely doing what we all thought he was doing.
Yeah. Brilliant. But it kind of, see, I was hoping for a kind of, the Seattle World's Fair type.
Sure, yeah,
thing.
Absolutely. It should have been
something that would leave an architectural legacy. Not a cardboard arch and a wanking Uncle Sam.
Yes.
Yeah.
If grifters hadn't been in charge,
right,
it would have been something to remember, wouldn't it? It would have been something that you can look back on and think, oh yeah, they really did a good job of celebrating America.
To celebrate that and a kind of, and a glimpse into the 22nd century and all that kind of stuff.
Calling it the Great American State Fair, not a terrible idea, because state fairs are a big thing. If but the things that you do when you go to a state fair is there's like livestock and animals and there's stuff specific to the state. There's like food that you can only get there or that is weird to that state. Like people know what they're going to get when they go there. If they'd had those kinds of things all around, and you could get funnel cake and you could get like the weird ham that they have in Iowa or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm making stuff up, but
frozen custard,
that would have been something.
Kind of
that would have been something where you could spend your day there, going around, experiencing genuinely things from the different states and kind of like touring, like Epcot. For the different countries. You could just, like, even if it's just a kind of miniaturized version of things they have in those states and experience it and see what's there and learn a little bit about America.
Yeah.
But they just didn't give a shit.
Because all it was about was taking the money. It's not like they haven't had 50 years to plan it.
They knew it was coming.
Yeah, it's been thrown up in a weekend and a half and not even finished. And finally, some things we really don't have time to talk about.
The Supreme Court finished their term last week with a bunch of very shitty rulings, including allowing Trump to end temporary protected status for Haitian and Syrian nationals, expanding his ability to fire the heads of various supposedly independent agencies, and upholding state bans on trans athletes playing on girls' sports teams. On the plus side, they were able to read and understand the plain text of the 14th Amendment. Well, some of them were, anyway. If we had a functional Supreme Court, John Roberts would have looked at the Trump administration's emergency request to rewrite 150 years of settled constitutional law and overturn birthright citizenship and told him to fuck off. Instead, the court dragged it out for 18 months, giving right-wing, morally pliable law professors plenty of time to flood the discourse with bad-faith pseudoscientific information to manufacture a debate out of thin air. And it almost worked. On the question of whether the Constitution says what it says, the ruling was a razor-thin 5-4.
Whoa.
Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch and Clarence Thomas were all perfectly happy to gut the concept of American citizenship because Trump wanted them to. Brett Kavanaugh joined the majority to strike down the order, but only on a technicality. He was with the other three arseholes in claiming that Trump's EO didn't violate the Fourth Amendment, but in his opinion, it did violate 8 U.S.C. 1401A, which says, "The following shall be nationals and citizens of the United States at birth. A person born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof." Which is, of course, completely different to the 14th Amendment, which says, "All persons born or naturalised in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside."
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not having a stroke. Those are functionally identical. But the benefit of claiming Trump is only violating the law, not the Constitution, is that Congress can change the law. The right-wingosphere reacted to the ruling with their usual combination of pant-wetting, head-exploding and misunderstanding basic reality, claiming that with this new ruling, hordes of pregnant women will be waiting just over the border until they're 10 centimetres dilated and then they'll sprint across and squeeze the baby out.
You know when your kids all start at a new school and everyone gets a cold as they get exposed to a new petri dish of germs in the close-knit environment? Well, it happened to Air Force's basic training hub in San Antonio, where an outbreak of flu is worsening. As of Wednesday, the number of cumulative cases linked to a flu outbreak at Lackland Air Force Base, part of Joint Base San Antonio, has reached 275. That's up from 222 cases reported on Tuesday. As of Tuesday, 4 people have been hospitalised. This follows a departure from the usual practice of requiring all new recruits to have the flu vaccine. In a nod, no doubt, to RFK Jr.'s scepticism about the efficacy of vaccination despite 150 years of evidence to the contrary, the outbreak is unfolding just 2 months after Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth made the annual flu shot optional for troops, scrapping the military's requirement for it, which dates to 1945, a move breaking with long-standing public health directives. Our new policy is simple. If you, an American warrior entrusted to defend this nation, believe that the flu vaccine is in your best interest, then you're free to take it. You should, but we will not force you, Hegseth said in April. Services have already been given exceptions to Higgs's policies, according to Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell in a statement provided to ABC News. As part of these exceptions to the policy, the Army, Navy and Air Force are once again requiring flu shots for basic trainees, according to officials. In the Air Force, only about 40% of its new trainees at Joint Base San Antonio had a flu vaccination when the outbreak started in early June. In response to the outbreak, some US officials, including Representative Joaquin Castro, whose district covers about half of San Antonio, including Lackland Air Force Base, criticised Higgs's policy ending mandatory vaccination. After Secretary Higgs scrapped the military's flu vaccine mandate, it was only a matter of time before an outbreak occurred, he wrote in a post on X last week. It's a reckless decision that puts troops in harm's way and undermines our military readiness. The Air Force now has the goal of vaccinating all of the recruits in the recruit class and will vaccinate all new recruits arriving at the base. Moreover, the Army is preparing in the coming weeks to broaden that requirement to troops deploying overseas, first responders, childcare workers, healthcare personnel, prison staff and soldiers taking part in certain large-scale training exercises. Sometimes I do rather get the sense that no one in the Trump administration has a clue about what they're doing. But I'm sure the vaccination against Trump derangement syndrome will soon become compulsory, so I'll be fine.
Back in May, the DOJ indicted a former prosecutor for emailing herself 2 copies of Volume 2 of Jack Smith's investigative report on Donald Trump. The report was, and still is, under seal, and the prosecutor, Carmen Leinberger, changed the document name to buntcakerecipe.pdf to avoid detection. This is what we experts call illegal as shit, and led to her being charged with felony obstruction of justice and concealing government records and misdemeanour theft of government property. We don't yet know what Ms. Leinberger was planning on doing with the 2 emailed copies, but we do know that Trump's Justice Department is filled with all the worst, stupidest and most inefficient lawyers known to man, so it came as no surprise last week to hear that the DOJ filed notice to Judge Eileen Cannon that they had accidentally emailed 3 copies of the exact same, still sealed and fully secret document to Ms. Leinberger's attorneys during the discovery phase. The next step is presumably to charge themselves with all the same crimes. Fucking idiots.
Days before granting him a pardon in March 2025, Donald Trump phoned Trevor Milton, an electric vehicle entrepreneur convicted of defrauding investors of more than $660 million, according to Reuters. Trump told Milton that high-profile advisors, including Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., had convinced him that Milton was unfairly prosecuted. "You had a lot of support," Trump said. "Bobby Kennedy, you have to call Bobby and thank him." Under Trump's second term, winning a pardon no longer follows the Justice Department's traditional guideline. Success now depends on access to an informal network of influencers who appeal directly to Trump. A Reuters analysis of pardon lobbying and electoral records, along with interviews with over 80 people, found that personal relationships, political donations, and narratives of victimization have replaced formal process as the primary route to clemency. Reuters identified 290 advocates who'd helped secure clemency for 197 recipients, representing 624 separate acts of influence. Amongst them, 73 helped secure more than one pardon or commutation. Brett Tolman, a former US attorney now in private practice in Utah, was involved in at least 12 pardons or commutations. Roger Stone, longtime Trump confidant, had a hand in at least 5. And amongst the most active advocates are Trump allies who themselves received clemency. Alice Marie Johnson, pardoned during Trump's first term after more than 2 decades in prison, was appointed by Trump as his pardon czar. Stone, pardoned in 2021 after a conviction for obstructing a congressional investigation, uses his conservative radio show to champion recipients' causes and has acknowledged advocating for several. Angela Stanton King, a conservative author and former campaign advisor to Kennedy, received a Trump pardon in 2020 and has since become a repeat advocate. "I have access. I have relationships," she told Reuters. "Because of that, I'm in the perfect position to be able to advocate and make sure that someone's name or application isn't just sitting over somewhere in a pile getting dusty." Reuters found that 10 recipients influencing the companies they ran, including Milton, donated a combined total of more than $10 million to Trump-related political committees before and after their clemency decisions. Milton alone contributed at least $1.84 million to campaigns supporting both Trump and Kennedy ahead of the 2024 presidential election. Naturally, the White House said in a statement that anyone spending money to lobby for pardons is foolishly wasting their money, and described the pardon review process as rigorous, involving the White House counsel and the DOJ, and the DOJ said it continues to make consistent, unbiased recommendations to the president. Ty Cobb, who served as White House counsel during Trump's first term, told Reuters, "There's nothing other than money, praise, partisanship, and relationships that dictates who gets pardons." Yeah, like any of this is news to us.
Our favourite Australian Trump botherer, Jonathan Swan, has a new book out with longtime White House correspondent Maggie Haberman. The book, Regime Change Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump, pulls back the gold lame curtain on the opening act of Donald Trump's second term, presenting a fever dream where the leader of the free world spends his mornings supergluing gold appliques onto the marble fireplace mantel, surrounded by miniature Mar-a-Lago cherubs he had shipped in specially to fix the vibe. Meanwhile, the resident staff was forced to carefully audit the executive garbage because Trump kept accidentally throwing out priceless White House sterling silverware alongside his midnight crisp packets and empty Starbucks cups. When he wasn't accidentally binning the historical spoons, Trump was busy waving a 2-page letter in front of reporters to prove his global reach outclassed Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan and Adolf Hitler. He proudly claimed it was from a presidential historian, who turned out to be Gary Player's longtime golf caddy, jotting down geopolitical theories between holes. According to the book, Trump's day-to-day management style is exactly as well-informed and well thought out as you would expect. He casually ordered an investigation into this lawyer who was in the administration and who said the election was fair and there's no fraud, leaving Stephen Miller and Boris Epstein to Google Chris Krebs' name before drafting the paperwork to unleash the Justice Department. Meanwhile, he affectionately calls Communications Director Stephen Chung Luca Brasi and praises him as a slightly more violent version of Kim Jong-un. Wow. Among the slapstick, however, are more chilling examples of their cruelty. The book exposes a frantic internal White House memo detailing Stephen Miller's active plot to suspend habeas corpus to supercharge mass deportations under the guise of halting a foreign invasion. Miller obviously doesn't give a shit about the humans, and it's possible he understands that habeas corpus gives detained people the legal right to challenge their imprisonment, unlike puppy-killing former Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who confidently and wrongly defined habeas corpus in a congressional hearing as the president's constitutional right to kick people out of the country.
We've definitely got to read that book. Yeah. Let's face it, Trump's administration stinks. But it might not just be because of their singular unsuitedness to hold any position of responsibility beyond holding the door open for the grown-ups. And even then they'd need constant supervision. It's pull, you idiot, not push. Turns out several big names in the White House, Pete Hogsbreath, Rusty Chains Kennedy Jr., Howard Lutnick, Sean Road Trip Duffy and the eyeliner kid Vance, all swear by Dr. Sean O'Mara's sauerkraut fermented vegetable diet. Jesus, if the odorous orange isn't bad enough, all these heads of departments are chugging pickled cabbage and extolling the virtues of weight loss and glowing skin. I suspect they don't choose to attribute either of those to the constant fecal-flavoured expulsion of air and the consequent stripping of the top epidermal layer brought about by the contact of acidic gas with their sweaty faces. I guess they need to find some way of justifying the $8,000 optimization plans or the $18,000 direct consultation that O'Mara charges. For the fee, it seems he'll also accompany clients to the grocery store to teach them about picking out fermented foods in the back of the refrigerator section where there's less light that could degrade the nutrients and the living microbes. In printing that, the Wall Street Journal just saved us all 18 grand there. In an emotional interview with the Wall Street Journal, O'Mara said it's his life calling, noting that people say feeling healthy helps them communicate better and have more energy for a stressful job, saying nothing will improve somebody's appearance more and their performance. But I think he might just be taking the piss a little when he recommends old world cheese for snacking. And that includes blue cheese, gorgonzola or parmesan on a wheel, which apparently Lutnick eats plain without a cracker. those fake windows in the ballroom better just be placeholders for the real thing if senators' wives are to be invited to anything in there, judging by Kennedy's wife Cheryl Hines' report on £20 in 30 days like her husband Bobby Jr. We'll be in the car, dressed up. I'll have my little clutch, right? One of my good bags that I only take out every once in a while because I want to keep them nice. And he'll hand me a bag of sauerkraut and say, "Can you put this in your bag?" And I'll say, "I actually cannot." The Katie Miller podcast fails to disclose further whether she added, "Fuck off, you croaky, stinking fart bag of useless, fake tan conspiracy theory peddling ignorant bastard," nor whether the slamming of the car door on his throat actually improves the way he speaks to her.
There is no way that a bag of sauerkraut is the worst thing RFK has asked Cheryl to put in her handbag for him.
No, given yes, that he's got a worm in his brain and he's run over
all manner of dead animals will have made their way
genitalia.
Into
Absolutely, yeah.
Points.
Yeah, put this in the bag, really. No, she's learned. Yeah, but who carries sauerkraut in a bag? For Christ's sake, in a
well, you
bag.
Never know when you might need some emergency snacking sauerkraut.
Yeah, but not in a bag. You have it in a tub or a tin or something. Not a bag. He's just the feel of that squelchy sack.
Yeah,
he can't get enough of that.
Don't talk about RFK Jr. that way. Yeah. On the other hand, I don't think we should dismiss old world cheese for snacking before we've really thoroughly given it a good go.
No, absolutely. But I think it's just taking the piss insofar as that's some of the most smelly cheese that there is.
Yeah.
You know, he's just having a laugh, really, isn't he? Disguised as $18,000 for a direct consultation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a typical display of great judgment, FBI Director Kash Patel managed to simultaneously compromise a sealed federal investigation and deeply alienate his colleagues in the Secret Service. Early on June 16th, possibly while hungover, I'm just guessing, Kash took to Twitter to aggressively brag about how the Bureau had stopped cold a terrifying mass casualty plot targeting the Idiocracy-style UFC cage match held on the White House lawn. Unfortunately for the justice system, his social media victory lap occurred before agents could round up roughly 10 to 20 remaining suspects who were still active participants in the group chat where they made their plans. Matt Quinn, the Secret Service's deputy director, might as well have been talking directly to Kash at his press conference later that day when he said, "I'll tell you a phrase I learned early in my career in the New York field office, and that's, don't choke on your own smoke. I'll tell you that the Secret Service led that investigation from the beginning. I'll tell you, that case is ongoing. In order to maintain the integrity of the investigation and the security plan, we chose not to leak it." While the FBI and the Secret Service later issued a sanitised joint statement praising their strong working relationship, the damage to the ongoing operation was already done. Disgruntled administration officials leaking to the press made it clear that the FBI director had essentially tipped off a web of suspects for the sake of an early morning digital high five. The irony is that the Grand Terror plot itself was unlikely to be a big deal. The group, calling themselves the Vanguard of the Old Republic, allegedly envisioned a chaotic multi-wave assault involving explosive-laden drones to trigger a stampede, followed by snipers picking off the evacuating crowd. In reality, the entire scheme was a half-baked fantasy born from a TikTok conversation gone wrong. The plotters possessed exactly 0 drones, no explosives, and absolutely no tactical means to outsmart the actual security perimeter of the White House. The entire operation unravelled when one of the suspects' mums looked at her son's bizarre digital behaviour and sensibly decided to call the police. Still, this should fuel more discourse about the violent left who want to assassinate Trump, except for the fact that the Vanguard identify as militant accelerationists, a fringe far-right philosophy dedicated to the belief that modern American society is in terminal decline and requires a violent push to trigger total societal collapse. They talked about targeting the White House event out of fury toward Trump, who they view as an amoral elite too cosy with the establishment and tainted by the Epstein scandal. They rationalised that a stadium filled with government officials and wealthy donors contained no innocent bystanders, only the complicit. We at Fallacious Trump are unable to offer any opinion on this matter.
At this time. A week is a long time in politics. 3 weeks is a colossal epoch. Here in Blighty, we're speaking to you from the sunlit uplands of no real leader of the Labour Party, following the Makerfield by-election triggered by the sitting Labour MPs standing down to allow former Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham to stand. who then trounced Reform into second place and won the seat. Starmer hemmed and hawed in a Sunday reminiscent of Boris, refusing to go, even though pretty much all his cabinet handed in their notice and wrote letters demanding his resignation in 2022. Starmer eventually conceded he was no longer in touch with the voting public and did the walk of shame to the lectern in Downing Street. In his speech, he told us that his legacy was to turn around a Labour Party that was politically, morally and economically bankrupt. This naturally upset Corbyn a little, who, when he stepped down as leader, had left the Labour Party buoyant with 600,000 members, twice as much as under Starmer, funds and popular policies, and yet whose Your Party seems unfortunately as irrelevant now as Starmer's Labour Party. The missing Tracy brother from Thunderbird 6, Andy Burnham, who Kevin Badenoch describes as a black T-shirt and a pair of eyelashes. Eyelashes? A pair of eyelashes? No one says that, you idiot. Eyebrows. You meant eyebrows. Burnham posted a video of him simply saying, dark blue, actually, though yet to be handed the reins, has been rather shafted by Keir Starmer, who, whilst making much of Truss leaving a £22 billion black hole in the finances, has left Burnham his economically bankrupt legacy of £5 billion stable door closed for promised defence spending after the Defence Minister and Secretary horses had bolted over lack of funding for defence. Farage complained there should be a general election, because otherwise we're just going to have another professional politician slotted into place. This coming from a man who's owned several political parties, which have received over £22 million in donations from crypto billionaire Christopher Harben, and has spent 20 years blagging a salary from the European Parliament. Farage needs a general election now because the man of the people shine is coming off him, rather, since the £5 million bung, the Makerfield defeat, and more revelations that he's earned £270,000 being an ambassador/salesman for Direct Bullion, a gold merchant, for 12 hours work. That's £22,500 an hour. 1,700 times that of the national living wage of $12.71 an hour. But as he and his latest turncoat lickspittle Robert Gendrick keep bleating, it's none of your business. It's a conspiracy on the part of the media to prevent Farage from becoming PM. Well, I think you're doing a fairly good job of that, Nigel. Ready? Stand by to see him decide to quit politics again. I'll bet my Burnham Bitcoin on it.
So that's all the bad arguments and faulty reasoning we have time for this week. You'll find the show notes at fallaciostrump.com, and if you hear Trump say something stupid and want to ask if it's a fallacy, our contact details are on the contact page.
If you think we've used a fallacy ourselves, let us know. If you've had a good time, please give us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, or simply tell one other person in person about how much they'd like our podcast. And you can support the show at patreon.com/ftrump, just like our newest patron, Sabina, our Strawman level patrons Chris Ward, Mike Smith, LT, Richard Thunder Hopkins, Mark Reiki, and Amber R. Buchanan, who told us when we met her at QED we could just call her Amber, and at QED in 24 I met the listener who recognised her at QED the year before because we kept using her full name all the time. And last year we field tested the wisdom of one person drinking an entire bottle of wine whilst contemplating the interconnectedness of all things. And our true Scotsman level patrons Renee Zed, Chuck Gray, Janet Nuetta, and our top patron Kaz Tui. Welcome, Sabina, and thank you everybody else for your continued patronage. It's very, very much appreciated. Thank you.
You can connect with those awesome people as well as us and other listeners in the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/FallaciousTrump, or in the Discord at fallaciostrump.com/Discord.
All music is by The Outbursts and was used with permission, so until next time on Fallacious Trump, we'll leave the last word to the Donald.
That's right. Go home to mommy. Bye.